What's up, y'all? It's your girl L, and this is my top 5 rappers, dead or alive, and this is all in honor of Tupac. So, of course, Tupac's gonna be in my top 5. But this list is not traditional, or no, it is traditional, because I think that you guys may share the same list, but it's not relevant to today's music. But in a way, it is relevant to today's music, and I'll get into that. I'll say this: my top 5. If it wasn't from my top 5, there would be no top 10. So let's start. Number 5, Brad Jordan, aka Face Mob, better known as Scarface. And for me, I've added Scarface to my list because I grew up on Scarface. I grew up on the Ghetto Boys. My father went to college in the South, so Scarface and E40 were like big in my household throughout the 90s. I feel like 90s hip hop kind of paved the way for a lot of music because it was a big transition coming from the 80s to the 90s when it came to hip hop. We went from You Down with OPP to Money Cars Hoes. It was a huge transition into music. It was a lot of gutter rap. It was a lot of reality rap. And I think Scarface spoke about things that people didn't really talk about. Depression. When he spoke of my mind's playing tricks on me, he actually went through mental illness. He actually was mentally instituted when he was like a child, like 8 or 9 years old. He spoke of those things. He spoke of death because he's experienced a lot of those type of things. He spoke of the struggles that he grew up in Houston. I think that he is one of the first realest rappers around during that time when people weren't talking about the ghetto and the struggle and no food on the table and lights being turned off and seeing somebody dead in the streets. Scarface talked about those things and made people understand this is real shit. And I'm going to say this to you. Scarface is relevant when Jay-Z puts him on the album. And he speaks of him. When Jay-Z says, Scarface, the movie did more than Scarface the rapper to me, but that I'm blamed for all the shit that's happened to me. That means that although Scarface the movie was a huge impact, but so was Scarface the rapper was a huge impact. And I'm going to say that if you've never heard Scarface, if you've never listened to the Ghetto Boys, I encourage you to, because that's a real nigga right there. He speaks of real life experiences, and he's always been true to himself. He never was big on being in the limelight, never really big on making sure he was known and making sure he was heard, but he was definitely an underrated artist. And for me, he's number 5. Number 4, Nas. And y'all know I love Nas, but Nas is number 4 because Nas is just so deep, but sometimes he be too deep. Sometimes he'd be like, I understand there's all these pyramids in Africa and all that type of shit, but it's a lot. But the boy is smart, and he's come such a long way, and he's been so relevant. Illmatic is still one of the best albums of all time, and you cannot take that away from him. I don't care if he is one of the most underrated artists as well. I believe. Sorry, y'all, my arm's getting tired already, but he says some things that make you sit and think when he says, life is parallel to hell, but I must maintain and progress because even life is dangerous. To say that we're living a hell on earth is probably one of the realest things I ever heard, because it speaks of that in the Bible. It speaks of that, well, this is hell where we're at. The other side is the best place to be. There is no hell. But that's a conversation that can go left. I don't even want to talk to y'all, Jehovah's Witnesses and Christians and all that. It'll take a whole other type of conversation. Anyway, back to the moral of the story is Nas could make those hit records like One Mic. He can make those hit records like Uchiwali. He could do those songs and still make you think. His bars may go for 10 minutes, but he's a smart man, and he's an intuitive man, and he's a woke man. And he was woke when being woke wasn't popular. He was woke when it wasn't that time. Nobody was understanding, nobody was trying to pay attention to what he was saying, but it had to be said, and it needed to be said. And he's always remained true to himself. That's what I've always liked about Nas, is that he's always been Nas. And if you rock with me or you don't, I'm not going to beg you to rock with me. I'm not going to make you kiss my ass to rock with me. And even when it came down to the Jay-Z battle, and as much as I love Jay-Z, he won that battle. Lyrically, he is one of the best. But like I said, sometimes he can bore the fuck out of me because it's just, my mind ain't there all the time. but he's lyrically one of the best of all time. That's one thing you cannot take away from Nas. Even if you don't rock with song after song after song, he speaks of things that you have to sit back and think and be like, damn, that really does exist. If it wasn't for Nas, there would be no J. Cole. If it wasn't for Nas, there would be no Kendrick Lamar's. If it wasn't for Nas, it wouldn't be any Wale's. That's number 4. Number 3, Biggie. Now, he's number 3 for me because this is the thing about Tupac and Biggie in a whole. They only lived to see 25 years old. So they didn't have the chance to elevate to be like a Jay-Z, and we'll get to that as well. But they were still so very influential in today's society. If there was no Biggie, there'd be no Rick Ross. There would be a lot of artists feed off Biggie. His wordplay was sick. Biggie put some stuff together, and Biggie also came out around the Scarface time too. And so that's the thing I can get back to Scarface. Scarface is from Houston. You know, the big rappers came out of those big cities, LA, New York, so he was really slept on too. But as I digress, but going back to Biggie, he was able to make those party hits that make you get up and shout and dance. To this day, when Biggie comes on the club, it's like you rocking. It's like it's no questions. You didn't want to say, bring that shit back, DJ. Bring it back. Play that Biggie one more time. But if you get those 2 albums, because he's only had 2 albums. He only had 2 albums. And sometimes it's hard for rappers to come back and be consistent like that. And both albums be the shit. It's hard for that. And it's also, my bad, y'all. My video did some willy-nilly stuff. So going back to Biggie, Biggie was a very realist. And that's what I'm huge on. It's about reality rap and speaking about things that we experience every single day, and that's influential in the culture and in the community, whether it's good or it's bad. One of my favorite lyrics he says is, I'm living every day like a hustle, another drug to juggle, another day, another struggle. That's real life. This guy's out here because that's all they knew, especially during his era. It wasn't cool to sell drugs. It was, this is my only means to feed my family. I got to figure it out. Education is something that we all are accustomed to. So I got to figure this thing called life out, and I got to slang crack, heroin, pills, whatever I got to do to make a dollar, I'm going to do it. And that doesn't mean that's the only type of music that I like. I don't want people to misconstrue that at all, because I love J. Cole. I love Drake. Those are in my top 10. But the reason why those are my top 10 is because of people like Biggie, Scarface, and Nas. And going into my top 2, which is Tupac. Tupac is number 2, simply because he didn't live enough time to be number 1. Because although he was very, very, very vital in the hip hop culture, he is the main reason why we have people like Kendrick Lamar, Common, Talib Kweli, those rappers that spoke of revolution, because he was a revolutionary. One of my favorite lyrics by him is, driven by ambition, desire of higher position, so I proceed to make G's. Internally is my mission. It's to be more than a rap musician. And I hope they speak of that when they get to the film on Friday, because he was such a revolutionary. He was such, the Black Panther lived inside of him from his parents. But he also could talk that shit. He could also talk that how do you want it? California Love. That's what made him such a great artist, because his dynamic was true Gemini. It was truly 2 sides of Tupac. And that's what made him such an outstanding artist, because he could sit and make you think, and he can sit there and make you groove. And his thinking wasn't just a thought. It was critical thinking. It was important to listen to the things that he said, because when he spoke, he meant business. And at 25 years old, I don't know many artists that did that. I mean, he died at 25. He was already impactful when he was like 23, 22 years old. I encourage you guys to check out my vlog on Tupac that I did a few months back on his 20-year anniversary back in September. It gets more into detail about things like that. But Tupac is definitely one of the reasons why, we have so many phenomenal artists today. They have no choice but to pay homage to Tupac. But going into my number 1, and y'all know who my number 1 is. Jigga, my nigga. Jay-Z is my number one because he shows the true evolution of a man. He showed the true definition of we grew up with Jay-Z. You know, we saw him grow from Reasonable Doubt to the Dynasty to the Blueprint to the Blueprint 3 when he was going through. And the Blueprint 3 was actually one of the best albums to me because it showed a very different dynamic of music from him. The beats were different. Everything about it was different, but it still stayed pretty much true to him. And that's one thing about Jay-Z that I love. He's true to himself. His wordplay is sick. The way he puts stuff together, you'd be like, did you just say that? His punchlines are crazy. You know, his metaphors are outstanding. But he's grown. You know, he's 45 plus. And he's still relevant today. And relevance is what's important when it comes to number one. Not necessarily my top five, but when it comes to number one, he's impactful. When he speaks, when he's around, people pay attention to him. You know, you have no choice but to respect the artist that he is and the platform that he's given for other people, whether or not he got along with them or not, whether or not he got fed up with their bullshit, Benny Siegel. He still rocked with them and he still gave them that platform. Jay-Z is number one. He's number one because he said, I don't know how to sleep. I got to eat, stay on my toes. Got a lot of beef. Logically, I pray for my foes. Hustle still inside of me. That nigga still hustles to this day. He got Tidal, Rock Nation, his wife throwing us around with this lemonade stuff. He got twins on the way. Every artist that I named, Jay-Z has been impacted by. You know, he's featured or referenced every artist at some point in his career that I named today. And that shows you a lot. That just goes to show you that there would be no Jay-Z if it wasn't for Scarface because he looked up to him. There would be no Jay-Z because regardless of their battle and their beef, Nas and Jay-Z still have made great music together, and he has referenced him over the years plenty of times. Dead Presidents is still one of the top songs in the hip-hop culture. Of course, him and Biggie had a brotherhood, and he's always used some of his song lyrics as well. Bonnie and Clyde is a reference of Me and My Girlfriend by Tupac. So even Jay pays homage to the greats. And that's why that's one of the other reasons why he's my number one of the greatest. He is the greatest rapper of all time. I don't think there'll be another. Before me, there was many. After me, there'll be none. I am the one. Don't you just hear that music come dropping in the background? Don't you just hear that R. Kelly popping in the background? That's Jigga. Hit after hit. Album after album. I don't care if you link up with Linkin Park. I don't care if you link up with Justin Timberlake. U2. It's phenomenal. And the song is always his. It's always original. I don't care who he works with. That's why he's number one. Because there ain't no other. Jigga, my nigga. This is the Elmatic View. Check me out tomorrow. I'll be on Oso Radio on Wednesday and Thursday with Randy Rosario and two other beautiful women talking about some things. It should be interesting at 3 p.m. Oso Radio. It'll be posted on my page. Check out again my Tupac special I did back in September. It's very interesting. I'll be dropping Tupac facts all week long. I'm going to do some things here and there over the summer. I know it's difficult for people to want to sit down and watch things in the summertime, but August, September, big things popping for the Elmatic View. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in. Had some glitches today, but it worked out good. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. And the guy that I met at Shalena's going away dinner, I hope you're watching this because this is inspired by you. I appreciate you as a viewer, so that's why I did this today. Thank y'all. Have a good one.